Hey, so today is a new day, but a lot of the same old shit keeps happening. Yesterday, I ended up struggling. I was trying to focus a lot on my novel, and I ended up struggling with getting anything done. We did notice that it seemed that like I was a little hypomaniac. Or I was in the trajectory to get maniacs. So we changed the medication I was taking, and I still have to wait a little while for things to kind of calm down. But yeah, I guess like it is. Today is already better. Today I already did. It was a very productive day so far. I was a little restless, which happens when I'm a little up here. So that was kind of like I kind of expected that from today. But I do think that I've kind of like exhausted myself, or either that is there, or I may have, I don't know, something happened because I woke up, I had energy, and then at a certain point, like around lunch, I no longer had it. I'm still like doing the things I have to do, but I am kind of, like kind of a little weak. And possibly I will not go to my swimming class today because of that. The last time that I went and I was a little weak, I ended up fainting, so we don't want that to happen again. So I will, probably not go today. But yeah, a lot to think about. But apart from that, today everything that I had to do, like I've mostly done it. I'm waiting for, the laundry to get, completely done, because this is like the fourth round of like laundry I had to do today, because we're changing all like the beddings and all like the towels, and like the beddings ended up taking like 2 rounds to go. Towels was just one, and then there was like regular clothes that to wash. So it kind of like occupying my morning. Also, I baked a cake. It was a different cake. I was trying to make a brownie, but that didn't happen. And also, like, the cake batter that I used is for like you kind of like you sweeten it yourself. They have suggestions. They say to use raisins and bananas to sweeten it, but like I was like, I'm not gonna do that, so I just used sugar, but the sugar I used was not enough, so now it tastes like, it's not that it tastes like nothing, but it's not sweet, and like that's what you want from a cake. So I'm gonna like probably bake something to kind of like, not bake, but like I'll have a little something to cover it, and then that will be very sweet, and then I'll be able to um, it'll be kind of like eatable, because right now no, it is edible, like you can consume it, but it is not, it doesn't taste good, but like that happened. But apart from that, the day has been normal. Right now is when I had kind of like it sat down because I want to work on the novel. I have had like my laptop by my bed the whole day after I did my bed. I made my bed with like, I'm using like the new not the new sheets, but like they are the old ones that we dyed like this pinkish dark pink color. Like it was not magenta, it was wine. I think it was wine, the color was wine, but the way that it turned out was just like a dark pink. And it's all stained but it happens. But I'm using it. Also, I kind of like realized I should have used more softener with it, because whenever you dye clothes, they come out like a little stiff, so softener would have gone. I mean, I did use softener, but like I should use more. But like you learn, you live and you learn. But yeah, so today's been like a cleaning day, doing chores and stuff, and now I want to focus on my novel. I don't know how much success I'll have with this attempt, but I will try. Yesterday I had nothing, nothing happened, but as I said, I was a little up here, so it was not my normal. And so the idea is that today I'm a little bit closer to normal, so I'll be able to get something done. But if I don't, it's okay. I'm kind of recovering from like a bad moment. It's okay for me to still struggle with this stuff. But yeah, but what I wanted to talk about actually you know is about my head, because not this stuff that I usually talk about, like regarding like how am I manic, am I depressed, like the consequences, the side effects and all that. It's just these fantasies that I have, And because today as I was doing things, it kind of like that's pretty much what was occupying my head. And while I don't want, fences to be in my head anymore, I don't really know how to get rid of them. And because in the past, they kind of like had just expired. Like someday, like I woke up and that was no longer what was on my mind. They kind of fade a little, but like right now, there's no sign of fading. It is very much still very active. So regarding that, I've been kind of like reflecting a little bit more on like the little aspects that come out of it, little thoughts that I have, because it's a very extensive fantasy so far. I've done like a really thorough job with everything. And yesterday also, like one particular aspect of this this little fantasy of mine, like I ended up exploring it a lot. And yeah, but it was also at the same time, it was basically like a story, so you could see it as kind of like a sign that I might be going back to normal, or maybe not. And that is that remains to be seen. And there's it feels like there's nothing I can do, because all the things I have done so far that I have tried, they have kind of failed. So I don't really know what else can I do. Like there's definitely stuff to be done, but like what? I can't think of anything. But I was thinking about how like I kind of like I need something to happen in my life, something out of the ordinary, to kind of like get me to be kind of like an anchor for me. Because all the things that are happening in my life, like none of them they can operate as an anchor. Like I've tried some of them, they have in the past, but they don't do anymore. They don't work anymore. So I need something new, and it has to be something out of the ordinary. It can be something like recurrent. It has to be fresh and new. I don't really know what, like there's just so many things that could happen. Just like it's kind of like an infinite amount of like things that could happen. That's why I don't really know. Because what do I want? I want many things, but like it could be any of them, or it could be something else. Then I don't know. But this is pretty much kind of like the conclusion I came to. I need something to kind of like not only to be an anchor, but to kind of like get me interested in life again. Because I'm kind of like hanging by a thread here. Like every day it's the same bullshit, and it's more the same, and like the same is not doing it for me anymore. So like I need something external to take place, something completely unforeseen. I don't know, it doesn't have to be unforeseen, but like it has to be something else, something more. Because as I said, like what's going on right now, what I have right now isn't doing it. So yeah, so that's kind of like the big lesson I got from like examining my head. But I also got like some other smaller things. Like I was assessing, like nothing new, but I was kind of reflecting on like what can I do, because these chances, they make me feel things. And what is a realistic thing that I can do to give me like those same feelings, to make me feel like that way. And I don't really have an answer, because like I mean, there are possibilities, and these possibilities, for example, like my writing in the past has served as an anchor, as something that was keeping me going, that was motivating me to exist, that was engaging with me on a certain level, both being fun but like challenging. And like it was the ideal thing, but like it doesn't have that spark anymore, and I don't know how to retrieve it. That's definitely a way to make sure that like things they start happening again regarding like my writing, but like nothing so far is doing it. Like nothing. Like I tried so many things, and like none of them is working out, and I'm just kind of stuck here. But thinking about like each of like those sentiments that like they're given to me during like this fantasy, like different aspects of like the same one. Like there is the sense of purpose, which like historically, like fantasies, like, they kind of like have given me that, either because they're making me feel that way, that I have purpose, or because like they're kind of aspirational, and there's something that like I'm making my way towards, and that might one day kind of like be real in my life. Naturally, like none of those fantasies has ever come to fruition, which is not surprising because they all like kind of exist. A couple of them like they were somewhat realistic to like the moment I was, going through in my life. But most of them, they're just very not random, because I can totally see where they come from, but they are kind of disconnected. They're not even tangentially related. They're just kind of there. It's kind of like, instead of having a Venn diagram, you had just two circles. That's kind of like how they exist. Like the way that they make me feel is pretty much what makes the connection between these two spheres. But like the way that they make me feel isn't real, because it's based on like things that are not happening. So I can't just let that be the thing motivating me, particularly because if I do that, whenever I do that, I end up getting very fed up with my own reality. And that has led in the past, and probably lead in the future, to certain attempts, certain actions that don't want. I mean, I say I don't, but I'm kind of done with everything. Like today, like I'm a little bit more up here, so I'm not really done. I'm kind of like, pretty chill. But the other, like a week ago, I was so done with everything, and but like at the same time, like I kind of like, scared. And don't even think this is something that like hit me very hard yesterday, because you want something final, and because it's not, it can just make things worse for you, like your quality of life. It can change, it can do something to your brain, for example, and then you can never really come back from it. And I've been watching a lot of like medical content lately. I don't know why this is appealing to me, but it has made me kind of like pretty much examine these situations even more. So on a practical level, I'm kind of less inclined to do anything, but only because of that. So it's not the most sustainable. And other things that I can do now, I feel also like not really appealing to me, kind of stuck. And honestly, I mean, as I said, I'm feeling kind of weak. I did try to test my blood pressure, and it is normal, 170. But also like what happens is that sometimes like by the time I'm getting like the thing to measure it, like time has already passed from like the moment that like I almost fainted. So yeah, I don't know. I need no, like I think I'm gonna keep like the little machine that I use to measure it like by my bed, because if I do feel that way, I can immediately test it. Because sometimes by the time I get, so I'm feeling something, I have to sit down to wait for my head to get normal, and then by the time I get up again and I'm doing I'm doing okay, until I get the machine, like it's a lot of time passes, and enough time for it to just go back to normal. But yeah, so I'm thinking, I was thinking about like the small ones, the small things, and I guess purpose was one of those. I have kind of like accepted that I don't necessarily I'm going to have purpose in my life, because I kind of expected it to have something to do with like work, like something whatever I do for a living. I hoped to give me purpose, but like I've attempted a bunch of different things, like in a bunch of different areas, and not a single one of them has worked. So I kind of like, I'm giving up on the whole notion of like finding purpose. I don't need to find purpose. I just have to find something to keep me going. Like that is kind of the bare minimum, but it's also enough. And like I have the little things that I do for myself, that they kind of have a certain weight, and they do kind of like, but they got me attached, but like not in the long run. They just got me like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this for another week, because I'm gonna go and do that, have like a little moment for myself. And that is not sustainable, because there's like a limited amount of like things I can do, because like I need things require like money for you to pay for them. So my money can only go so far, so I can't really have anything. I mean, like this work when I have like nothing else. I mean, I have in the past splurged a little bit, like when I'm in these very vulnerable moments, and I might do so again, but I don't know. Yeah, but the point is that purpose, I've already kind of like given up on it. I don't really think I'm gonna find it. Like it could have been my writing, like that was something that at a certain point it gave me purpose, but like it's so inconsistent. It's very inconstant. So I can't really rely on it. You know, like it can't really be something. Yeah, I can't rely on it. I need something that I can, because the thing is, I understand that, like, you know, if every person, even the very driven ones, like, you know, they have moments where they challenge the emotion of whatever is driving them. But the thing is that, like, usually, like, that is the minority of the time, you know, like, it's only, you know, it happens, so it only happens so much. And, you know, in my case, it's happening in the majority of time. So I don't, you know, it's not really the way that things are happening, the way things are going, not very sustainable for me on the long run. But you know, it is one day after the other. So you know, it's okay that, you know, like I have like just like one little thing that, you know, one small thing that is, you know, that gets me going. You know, that is enough, because it got me going that one day. I can find something new tomorrow, basically. That is kind of, but that is also a little not. It's not very sustainable for me, because like, what if I don't find like that little thing, and what if like the window of time I have in which I don't find anything is enough for me to just try something, you know. I know, like right now I'm pretty, you know, I think that, you know, like, because we did change medication, and then I went, like, I was down here, I went up here, and we're trying to get me more in the middle. But like this days that it was like a week, it was actually more than a week, it was around like, it was like 9 or 10 days that I was taking, you know, the medication doubled. And I think that it worked, you know. I think that, you know, like it did succeed. It got a little too much, but like right now I'm feeling pretty, you know, like I'm not very inclined to do anything. So, you know, good job. Not me, you know, you know, my head, but like my body. They absorb medication, so shout out to my body for, you know, absorbing the medication and for everything to, you know, work out fine. But yeah, but something else that happened, you know, today as I was like doing things, that I kind of let my head just really go wild in terms of like the things that have been frustrating me. Because I talked about before, I have the senses, and then there's reality, and then there's this clashing. And you know, the things that make it, you know, clash, they have really destabilized me at different moments. Like they haven't destabilized me like the past few days or anything, but like they still bother me, like they still annoy me, they still frustrate me. And I kind of just let my brain go wild, just saying and thinking all the things that I meant, all the things that, like, they're bad, that they are unfair, they're unreasonable, even, you could say. But you know, I have to say those things so I can move on, because I'm stuck, kind of stuck mentally, you know, in a certain event that, you know, pathetic, can I say that? But like that fatal Sunday that really, you know, kind of like ruined things for me in a lot of different ways. Like I haven't, you know, like I guess I haven't, because I mean, I think it's like the cycle of acceptance, right? So at first I was in denial, then I was angry, and I think maybe I'm still kind of like angry, you know. Then you're sad, you're bargaining, you're sad. I don't remember the order, but I think like that's pretty much what's happening with my head. I'm going through like the cycle. It's just that I think I was in the whole denial thing for too long. It is also weird because I'm calling it denial, but like I wasn't necessarily denying reality, you know. Like I wasn't denying things outside, just like in my head I knew what had happened. And I don't know, it was just that, you know, like it was a perceived threat, you know, to my head, not to my head, to myself. And then, you know, my head kind of like really found a way to, you know, to kind of like comfort me, and that involved denial. I think I'm kind of like in the portion of anger where I'm just letting those things, just saying those things again and again, because it feels good. It feels good to just say them, even if I know that that is unfair, untrue, unreasonable, you know, objectionable, and many other things, because it is how I'm feeling. You know, you cannot deny your feelings. If you wanna, you know, like, not rise above, but like if you wanna have a good quality of life, you have to kind of accept, accept also, but like you have to acknowledge your feelings first. And sometimes acknowledging them is kind of hard, because it involves me having to kind of like accept, you know, or at least admit that I'm being kind of like delusional. And it's not that I didn't know that that was delusional. I mean, I knew it, but I'm having to face that fact, and it feels uncomfortable. you know, to let certain things happen after, you know, like this realization, after this, you know, this notion kind of like settles. You know, it makes me feel embarrassed. You know, embarrassed because, you know, like it is delusional. And, you know, delusional has historically equated with me being manic, you know, so it's not, you know, the best, it's not, you know, the outcome I want. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what I have for today. And it is, I'm going to meet myself there, you know, meet at the point I am at, instead of like, you know, insisting that like I should be some other way. Because I mean, I do want to be some other way, but like I have to, it takes, you know, step by step. And this is the step from today. You know, tomorrow there's more. So yeah, that's kind of it. Bye.